All right, let's give you that markets update now. The local index remaining volatile today as the rand rallies against the US dollar. The JSE closing weaker amid mixed global peers on Tuesday as investors looked toward the US Federal Reserve's annual conference at the Jackson Hole. This is the week for guidance on the future of direction of interest rates. Let's speak now to independent market analyst Jimmy Moyaha. Jimmy, good morning to you, and thank you very much for your time. Let's begin with your overview of the general markets and the rand. How is it faring on day 2 of the BRICS summit?
Good morning to the viewers. The rand is faring stronger. We saw that the rand dipped below that 19 rand level off the back of US Treasury news and, of course, in anticipation of the Jackson Hole symposium that you alluded to. Rand sitting at about 18 rand 72 against the dollar at the moment, sitting at about 23 rand 81 against the pound, and around 20 rand and 25 cents against the euro. So strengthening against all the majors at the moment. In terms of the equity side of it, we saw that US markets overnight were sort of in the red in large part. So the Dow and the S&P were both in the red. Nasdaq was kind of flat up, less than 0.1%. So basically flat. That sort of carried on into some of the Asian markets. So China is down in Asia trade. That was down more than 1.33%. Sorry. Japan was up about 0.5%. Hong Kong was up about 0.1%, and Sydney was up about 0.33%. In terms of our local bourse, we saw that the top 40 opened in the green. Yesterday's downward moves were about 1% or just over 1%. We've sort of since recovered that. Resources are leading the charge in early trade alongside financials. So resources up 1.3% and financials up about 1.2% at the moment in early trade. So by all accounts, it looks as though the local market is going to have quite a strong day if we continue with this momentum. It's interesting that it's bounced. If you look at the top 40, the market has bounced off a key support level that we last saw in March of this year. So we came exactly almost to the points down into those levels, and we've bounced out of that quite nicely, and hopefully we can continue with that momentum throughout today and for the rest of the week as we wrap up BRICS.
Yeah, let's immediately launch into company news. Sasol publishing financial results for the year which ended on the 30th of June 2023. How have they fared in the period under review?
So not the best performance from Sasol. They announced quite a significant decline in their earnings before interest and tax of about 65%. This despite the fact that their operating profits are up about 8%. We saw that Sasol's share price yesterday was down quite significantly, almost as if the market sort of knew what the numbers would come out like. So that was down about 4% yesterday. We started off in early trade this morning with a bit of positivity, but we're back in the red on the Sasol share price. In terms of those numbers, of course, a lot of the decline in that earnings before interest and tax figure coming through in the form of impairments to their business units. If I'm not mistaken, one of the impairments related to their CGU unit in Lake Charles, which was to the tune of 3.6 billion. If you remember, there was a time where this was impaired in 2019, but then there was a reversal of impairment, and it looks like it's been impaired again. So a bit of confusion there, but overall, the resulting lower earnings before interest and tax has affected their headline earnings per share almost not at all. It's affected basic earnings per share. That's down about 78%, but actual headline earnings per share is up about 13%. The company did, of course, announce that interim dividend a while back, and the final dividend that was announced alongside this of about 10 rand a share was not or was lower than the 14 rand a share we got as a final dividend in the previous period of 2022. But if you combine that with the interim dividend, it is more than what we got as an entire dividend for the previous financial year, because we didn't get an interim dividend in the previous year. So kind of a mixed set of numbers from Sasol's side of it. Some of their units performing better than other units. If you look at the performance of their corporate sector, that's shown a real turnaround in terms of interest before or earnings before interest and tax. It was a loss last year. It's now swung deep into a profit. So interesting set of numbers there. I look forward to having a conversation with Sasol later around their numbers and possibly finding out some of the driving factors going forward that they might be looking at.
Yeah, let's talk DRD Gold also declaring its results, including a cash dividend as they posted the financial statements for the year, which ended also on the 30th of June 2023. How are their numbers looking?
Yeah, so DRD Gold performing better than Sasol in this respect. Their revenues were up about 7%. Their operating profits about 8% up. Earnings per share rather up about 14%. Headline earnings per share up about 13%. And that final dividend also showing signs of increasing. So the business overall did perform really well. If you remember, the gold markets have been under some bit of pressure lately, and we have seen that some of the gold counters or the gold stocks have been performing along the lines of some of the other mining companies, not nearly as bad as the PGM counters, but you know that DRD Gold has a significant stake in PGM counter or diversified miner Sibanye, so that will also then have some form of effect on their earnings, but it looks as though it's positive from the DRD Gold stable at this stage.
Let's conclude the conversation with BID Corporation. They've issued a trading statement. Anything earth-shattering from those developments?
Positivity, I don't know if it's earth-shattering, but positivity nonetheless. They expect headline earnings per share to be up between 32 and 36%, basic earnings per share to be up between 40 and 44%. We will have to wait until this time next week to get a detailed breakdown of those audited results when they release those. It's just a standard trading statement in line with the JSE obligations to notify us when there is a material difference of 20% or more in these HEPS and EPS figures. So for now, we don't really know too much about that. They didn't give too much guidance around some of the driving factors that could have led to this increase, but they did say that we'll have to wait until next week to find out more.
Jimmy Moyaha, independent markets analyst, thank you very much for your update there.